important. Tyler Jenkins is a graduate of Martinsburg High School and a sophomore attending Harvard University. Tyler is the only student from West Virginia attending Harvard in the class of 2019. His academic plans include pursuing a degree in government and applying for law school. Prior to graduating, Tyler served as the 58th Youth Governor of West Virginia in the West Virginia Youth in Government Program. At Harvard University, his leadership positions include Director of Business for Harvard Model Security Council Program, the subcommittee chair in the Harvard Political Union. Tyler has been an advocate for students in Berkeley County and across West Virginia to pursue higher education at all levels, including the Ivy League. Today, Tyler hopes to share how Berkeley County Schools has prepared him and his peers for college, as well as the challenges students face when transitioning into higher education. This summer, Tyler had the pleasure to work for Senator Capito, and I started calling him governor when he was a junior in high school, but now I might just start calling him senator. So this morning, let's give Tyler a welcome back to Berkeley County Schools. Tyler Jenkins.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Mr. Arbon. Thank you all for having me today. My name is Tyler Jenkins, and I'm an alum of Martinsburg High School. And I want to begin by thanking each and every one of you for the job that you do every day to ensure that students like me have the opportunity to succeed. Honestly, I believe Berkeley County Schools has created this unique environment that allows students to really focus and build upon our strengths and our weaknesses. And at the heart of our education system is undoubtedly our teachers and faculty. I mean, as I grew up in the school system, I've really realized the sacrifices that you all make every day in, day out. And I've never appreciated it more until I graduated. And the reality is teachers, their days don't start when the morning bell rings and the dismissal bell rings. And they don't end when the dismissal bell rings. They make real sacrifices. They spend their time before school, their time after school, their weekends. A lot of times their own money to ensure that students like me have the same opportunities to learn and to succeed both in the classroom and beyond. And there's also a harsh reality that teachers face here, just 15 minutes north of this building. So teachers can work across the state line and make thousands of dollars more a year. That's a harsh reality. And that's a unique problem that counties across the state that are on the border of West Virginia face. And it impacts Berkeley County and Eastern Panhandle by far the hardest. So the teachers that teach in Berkeley County, they teach because they care about the students. And they teach because they want to touch the students' lives, and I really appreciate that. So I'd like to tell a story. And this really showcases what I mean when I say that these teachers are showing a true commitment and sacrifice for us. There's a teacher I had at Martinsburg High School. His name is Mr. R. And he teaches science there. He's taught science there for many years. So he also is the advisor for a Science National Honor Society program at Martinsburg High School. When I was serving as president in 2015, we sat down and we looked at what was Martinsburg High School really lacking in terms of opportunities in science. We wanted to build upon that. And we realized that there wasn't a group focused on two of the fastest growing industries in the 21st century economy. And that's computer science and robotics. So he worked with a group of students, and he built a robotics competition team in high school with no experience and no money to start out with. Mr. Art spent hours of his free time after school. And I don't mean just until 4 p.m. He would stay days until 7 p.m. with students, 4 days a week, working to build this robot and teach students that had no experience in programming how to build a robot. And I wasn't on the team, so I don't know how to build a robot, but I imagine it's pretty difficult. Well, on the weekends, he spent his weekends helping raise money to spend, to build, to buy the supplies that are needed. And it's about he raised over $1,000 for that robot by itself. Plus, they had to raise money to buy transportation down to Logan County for competition that year. And the year that they were founded, that team brought their first robot to competition, and that's that same year. But the disadvantage was clear. They were up against teams across the state that had more experience, more notoriety, sponsorships, more money. But they proudly put their robot out there. And to really put that disadvantage into perspective, they had to build an arm for the robot that year. And teams across the state would spend over $1,000 alone on that robot arm. And what our team did was they built it out of a drawer railing and some sheet metal. It was $40. So this really shows this unparalleled hard work and innovation that's happening at Martinsburg High School alone in the physics room every day after school. Now, our team didn't win, but they placed above countless of other teams that spent that $1,000 on that arm and had more years and had more experience. And I think there's something to be said about that. I like to think about it like Rocky Balboa, but for nerds. So the real question we have to ask is, did this opportunity that Mr. Arndt helped build really have an impact on the students? Where are these students now? And one of them, Chi Chan, some of you might have had in class. He is now a student at the University of Virginia, and he's going to be an RA this year. The other one, Jeffrey Reynolds. He's going to major in, you guessed it, computer science at Fairmont University. So it's these organizations and these teachers, like the Youth Leadership Association, Key Club, Rotary Club, are what shape students like Chi and Jeff into who they are today. And this is a clear example of our county educators making a real difference. And I know this is because you all made a difference in me. I've had so many teachers like Mr. Arndt that make extracurriculars like SNHS and robotics team possible. In fact, if I hadn't been part of the Youth Leadership Association beginning in freshman year, I wouldn't be able to stand up here and give this speech today. In fact, you asked me to do this 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to give this speech to a fraction of this room. I'm seeing Ms. Ferguson shaking her head, she knows. I wouldn't have been able, I've really gained some confidence and some true skills from opportunities like this. And I would say that if I didn't have the chance to serve as youth governor in my senior year, I wouldn't be standing before you as a Harvard student today. So I can't stress enough how important it is that Berkeley County schools offer and continue to offer these opportunities to students. I really believe that the system that they're using at Martinsburg High School under Mr. Sherman to create this well-rounded experience in education is a great model. And I want to ensure that every class that comes after me has the same opportunities to succeed that I did. And Mr. Pat Murphy, he tells me every time I come back in town, he says, you need to write me an email about what Berkeley County schools can do better. So I guess this is me fulfilling that request. Because while opportunities both in and out of the classroom prepare us for the world ahead, whether it's college or careers, there's so many things in college that you can't prepare for. For example, no one was able to prepare me for having to lug my laundry to the laundry room and having to, God forbid, do my own laundry. Don't even get me started about having to go out and buy my own food. But there's one area in particular that every time that I come in town, I tell classes, I tell teachers, I tell board members, an area that students, not just me, but any college, find most difficult is the transition from high school writing into college academic writing. And the problem is you recognize with universities, Harvard included, universities oftentimes create these writing transitionary programs that help equip students with the skills that they need to really build a thesis and flesh it out across more pages than what they're used to in high school. And these students have echoed the difficulty that they've had transitioning from the 5-paragraph essay format that we learn in public English school classes into the complex and multifaceted writing that college professors expect from even college freshmen. So I asked my instructor at Harvard's transitionary writing program about this difficulty, and here's what she said. The arguable thesis comes in stages and is usually developed through extensive thinking and drafting. Since students didn't have to do that amount of work to develop a thesis in high school, most of them aren't too happy to find how work-intensive the arguable thesis tends to be. But once they're able to do it, I think most of them feel like they've managed a great accomplishment. So there's no question how necessary it is to understand the 5-paragraph essay before moving on to complex topics in academic writing. The 5-paragraph essay provides a clear model that allows students that are learning how to first write papers to create an argument that really flows and has a unit of strength to it. But it's a very intimidating process to go to college and have to turn in a paper that's 10, 15 pages long when the student is having a difficult time formulating a thesis to begin with. Academic writing in college, especially in the humanities and the social sciences, are much less structured and clean-cut than the 5-paragraph essay. College has required me to take an idea, develop it, and deliver it in stages. And sometimes topic sentences and supporting sentences just weren't enough to do that. And I realized that this is an extremely important but difficult issue to handle in our short 4 years at college. But it's important that our education system send our students out with the tools that they need to succeed. So there are little things that I think that can be done that have a drastic positive impact on students. And I asked current freshman students from colleges everywhere that I've known how to better prepare future students for college writing. And they gave me simple yet effective recommendations that matched my experience. So college students will hate me high school students will hate me for saying this, but more essays of greater length in junior and senior year. This is a step that I wish I had taken as an upperclassman. And instead of moving from the short 2 to 4 page essays that we do in classes, even in senior year, to the 10-page papers I had to turn in freshman year, maybe a few 8-page papers would have allowed that transition to be a little smoother and less intimidating. And on another note, further highlighting the importance of proper citations and requiring them in all classes that involve writing, not just English. Proper citations is a skill that all college students need. And I'll be honest with you when I say that I didn't know how to do a proper in-text citation when entering Harvard. I grew too accustomed to websites like easybib.com, I think. But these skills are skills that college professors expect from students on day one. Students would benefit from being required to use in-text citations, such as MLA or APA format, in high school. And in the same vein, I, as well as the other students that I've spoken to, had never used a physical academic source in our lives. In high school, it was so easy to use websites for our information. But even Wikipedia in some instances. But I don't think I had ever cited a book, excuse me, other than the ones we read in English class. But that didn't cut it with the college professors. Don't believe what they say on TV. The age of the book is not dead. In fact, any given day, freshman year, at my desk, I had a stack of books this tall sitting next to me at my chair. And that was just for reference and citations for my essays. So, I hope students will be required to use 1 or 2 academic sources in their writings. because I promise it'll pay off when college professors and college graders start rejecting about.com as a citation. Now, after I asked all these questions prepared for the speech, there's the last thing that my writer proctor told me that really struck a chord with me. Her and I both grew up in a majority rural state, in a public school system. And I asked her, what do public school students need more of? And she said, criticism. That's what she felt students needed more of. She said, students should receive more criticism to learn how to take and respond to constructive feedback on papers and essays. Responding to constructive criticism is a learned skill. We all know that. When we get that first paper back in college, she said many students, including herself, just didn't know how to take all those red pen marks on their paper. She asked herself, was she really a bad writer? Did the professor not like her? Was the professor being too harsh? And after teaching so many years in transitionary writing program, she realized that this is not an uncommon reaction when you first enter college. Students may not like it, but as a college freshman, I can say that I would benefit from more criticism in middle school and high school. We only learn from it. And the earlier we learn how to deal with criticism in our educational careers, the better we grow as students. Because many of us have learned more from those red pen marks than we have from reading a textbook in class ever. So, before I close here, I want to talk about an issue that's important to me. And Mr. Arvon had mentioned it in his speech to introduce me here. But in my years in educational system, I've had the benefit of going around the state, not just here, and meeting exceptional students. Students across West Virginia that I know can do big things on the national stage, not just the local level. Because I know some West Virginians that are worth 10 Harvard students today. Yet I can only count the number of students attending the Ivy League on one hand sometimes from the state. Now, the rest of the country will say, well, maybe it's because we have a weak education system, or maybe it's because we're being taught backwards, or maybe it's because maybe West Virginia students are just less intelligent than the rest of the nation, but I won't accept that answer. I know this isn't true because I've met so many that can do it. And I have felt this, I believe there's a certain barrier that West Virginia students face when applying to college in general. When I first applied to Harvard, I didn't apply until the last day that it was due. And that wasn't because of procrastination. Well, maybe it was kind of because of procrastination, but it was mostly not because of procrastination. It was because I didn't think that a West Virginia kid would ever be taken seriously by a place like Harvard. I thought it was impossible. I thought Harvard students only come from places like Florida, or from Massachusetts, or from New York. And I didn't apply until my mother, who's here today, convinced me that I need to try anyway. And I waited until that last day to do it. And I know that there's other students, even in this county, that if they had applied to the schools that they dreamed about going to, and if they had the confidence to do that I wouldn't be the only student from West Virginia at Harvard this year. So I hope that you go back, when you go to your schools, and you tell students that they can apply to WVU, and they can apply to UVA, and Georgetown, and Duke, and West Virginians can get into Harvard. Because I know they can, and I've met so many that can. So I texted Mr. Sherman this morning, and I left him my email address. I won't be around during lunch, but if you have a student that you think would benefit from peer guidance for the college application process, somebody who's been through the system just 2 years ago, someone who, if you have a student that you think should apply to schools like this, I want you to shoot me an email, and I'll get in contact with them regardless of what time it is of year. Because I really want West Virginia to be represented, and I want them to come back and make the state better. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I didn't mean to be too harsh. I wasn't trying to be. I just really care about this education system. I do. I really care about the county. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll be extending